Welcome everyone. Uh, Welcome to Powersights by Powerview. This is our initiative, our educational initiative, where we invite experts across multiple domain, ask them questions, get insights from them to power you, your business, your team, and much more. Today we have Danny Essix, CEO, founder of Jumpball Apparel, with us, and he has his love for basketball has essentially you know brought him this journey and triggered all those things for him, and we would like to hear more from him about this. So welcome, Danny. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Great. So the first question, as usual, is when did jump ball apparel came to you? How did you come across with starting something that is so much focused on basketball?
Oh, wow. From being a player, being an avid basketball player, playing since I was a kid, through high school, went through a championship phase, won a championship in junior college. And, me watching basketball, and through a certain company called And One, where they was going, around the country, United States and other parts of the countries, and showing off their skills, playing other players, giving them entertainment, but really showcasing the players who really love the game. So from that aspect, I decided to say, wow, you know what? I want to build a company, pretty much like And One. So I got inspiration from them. But at the same time, I was watching basketball, so I came up with the name. I'm like, wow, if there's an And One, there's people need to respect the jump ball. And from there, I decided to make my company from there. But my main focus was to help kids in my community stay out of trouble through the game of basketball. So what I did, I started to make a concept of a shirt. Once I made that concept of the shirt, I decided to go to the local gyms and parks and ask the admins, could I, help them with the kids in the gym? And I would bring a couple of shirts or headbands, a couple of hats, and, you know, teach the kids certain techniques as far as shooting, drills. And from there, I'm like, okay, well, this is pretty cool. I would give them hats, I would give them shirts, once they did their drills. And I'm like, you know what? I really like this. I want to do more for my community and help these kids learn to get in basketball, but also keep them out of trouble. Excuse me. And from there, I just started building my brand, and I was in the height of my culinary career, but I never did stop building my brand. The concept is like, I love this game so much, and there's a new generation of basketball players that is coming up because, every kid, like in different parts of the country, you have certain pee-wee leagues or whatever leagues that kids play in to better themselves, to build themselves up, from football as soccer, we have football over here, basketball, we have these leagues for kids so they can learn and hone their skills. Maybe in India, you might have cricket for kids, to learn, get their skills, honed in so they can be better cricket players. So every country has a different way of teaching kids how to play the game that they love, or the country's game that is more prominent, in their country. And from there, I just decided, it's like, listen, this is what I want to do. I definitely can sit down and at the table with Nike, Under Armour, and everybody else, but you have to learn from these type of companies. From what Phil Knight built his company. So it was just doing the aspect of watching this man grow his company and go through the concepts and everything that he went through with Nike. Excuse me. You learn a lot, even with Kevin Plank with Under Armour. So you learned a lot. For me, I learned a lot just by reading about these guys, learning about their stories. And, Puma, Adidas, all these great men who decided to build their companies. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to build my company. And I decided to just constantly learn and learn. And I went through the stages like every company does. You know, you go through a lot of growth spurts, you go through a lot of different things that you have to figure out what fits and doesn't fit. Bringing people on board who you think are great fit, and sometimes that's not plausible because most people are not in the same mindset that you are as far as building a brand. And certain things are short lived with a lot of different people. But being the founder and CEO of your own company, you never give up on your brand, no matter how long it takes, how many hours you have to put in. So I decided to, excuse me, constantly build my company. So I'm pretty much in a good space right now. I was recently in Fashion Week San Diego here, and I'm planning to be part of the new season that's coming up. And since I was in Fashion Week San Diego as a designer, New York Fashion Week has opened up for me. Um, LA Fashion Week has opened up for me. Miami Fashion Week has opened up for me, in Arizona. So, you know, there's a lot of great opportunities that come along as long as you stay committed to the task and dedicated. And, you know, and I just love the game of basketball. And basketball is pretty much the second biggest sport on the planet behind soccer, you know. So the game is not going nowhere. It's an international game. So the growth potential of, you know, building the brand is very inspiring, to know that, like, wow, these are great opportunities. No matter how big the company gets, there's always someone who loves the game of basketball.
So that was, I mean, I can sense the passion which you, which you are bringing to this, from designing to the game and now to the, to the industry itself. So you touched upon the, a very interesting point, which actually I was thinking when you were describing it about Nike and how Phil Knight built it. I in fact read
Mm-hmm.
his book Swoosh, if I'm not wrong, I think a couple of months ago, and incredible journey. I mean, the ups and downs. So am I correct in assuming that, companies like Nike would be your competitor?
Well, for me, I Nike is built on shoes, right? Just like you might have to check out one of his other books called Shoe Dog, a very phenomenal book. And that book right there, I just completely love the book. But you know, when Phil Knight started his company, he started off because he wanted to build a better running shoe, right? He had a great running coach at his alma mater, you know, in Oregon. And from there, they kept building on how to build a better shoe and how to make the players run faster and give them the type of flexibility that they needed in the shoe. And through trial and error, they kept building and building and testing. And until he started venturing out, found some investors, Japanese investors, manufactured his shoe, the first Tiger shoe. And from there, you know, just a lot of trial and error that he went through, but he never stopped building that shoe. And his thought process of like, I want to put the best runners in my shoes, you know, and from that aspect, you know, you have to do a lot of trial and error. You have to go through the fire to build certain things out. So once he decided that this is where he wanted to do and constantly, you know, honing his craft and bringing the right people in through his adversity, Nike is a conglomerate. I can never compete with Nike, and I'm not really in the shoe space. Nike is mostly a shoe company, and they transcended over years. Just think about having a company that you're building up from the 60s, you know, 60s, 70s, pretty much, right? Into now. So there's no competition. Nike is the megadon of the shoe space. But to say that I can sit at the table as a apparel brand, it gives me like aspirations like, okay, cool. I understand where these guys had their ideas, where they brought their concepts up, and their determination of bringing their product to market. Um, so just learning from greats, from Phil Knight, like I said, Kevin Plank, the brothers from Adidas and Puma, which started two separate companies because they couldn't get along with each other. So they decided to start their own brand, and both of them are successful. Um, Competition, is always something that we always have to go about in life, right? Because if you want to be great, there's competition. You know, there's other people that are gunning for your spot, who wants your job or who wants to start in the starting lineup, you know, in any game. So if you want to be like the starting five or you want to be that first team, you have to go beyond your means of becoming better than anyone else. So as far as me, I'm in my own space right now, but I'm in the space of fashion and apparel. And the space is pretty big, but it is so huge that it's so much room for growth. You just have to have the right type of marketing and the team to help you scale your brand. So, you know, Nike is in the space by itself, Under Armour, Jordan is in the space by itself, but they're all in the shoe space, but they branched out to do other things. So for me, as an upcoming company, I think I have a very bright future in the game of basketball with my brand. I'm just all about, you know, just networking with the right people to take it to the next level.
Awesome. So yeah, you rightly put it. It's a very growing industry, and there's a lot of space for all the upcoming players. So if as an upcoming player, and
Mhm.
when COVID struck, there were a lot of maybe the supply chain issues and everything. I don't know if they have resolved completely right now, but if at this
Right.
point, if you had to identify a few issues for the apparel industry, could be specific to you, but could be common to the whole industry. What what would you think these are, and how is the industry solving these?
Well, you know what? China is one of the biggest players in the apparel industry, right? Because you look at their processing and their machinery and the technology that they have. So a lot of companies from the US and other different places use China because of the labor. They go to China to get the labor, but also for the great products that they produce. Um, so when I look at certain things like that, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, there is so many um, parts to it, right? Because if you want a great shoe, like here in the United States, you know, because there's so much different things that's going on, because that's why people outsource to different countries because of the labor, right? And it's very inexpensive to make certain things. And when you have different things like that, it makes it valuable to the company because you're dealing with a great partnership with these companies. And most companies don't want to lose or purchase more than they have to, because now, as you see, during the pandemic, it taught us a very valuable lesson that e-commerce is not going nowhere and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And Jeff Bezos is running that space, um, hands down. And to learn from a guy like Jeff Bezos, it's like, okay, this man has built his company through books, started selling books, and he branched out to selling everything else. So when you're dealing with different entities in different spaces of the world and different countries that can give you a great product for very cheap labor and is very inexpensive, it brings a lot more value to the companies and also the relationships to the manufacturers, and the partnerships. So the main thing is, for myself, being the e-commerce brand, I don't have to worry about overhead or overstocking anything, right? When people come to my site, they order whatever products that they're going to order, and everything is cut and sold to me, right? So I don't have to worry about inventory, right? So when you're dealing with inventory, that's one of the main factors that people are more worried about today, because now you have to discount your clothing and you don't want your clothes to go to a discounted, because now you're giving up more of your brand to discounts, and you're losing more money on the back end. So I really figured that a lot of companies are really getting smarter to the point that they carry less inventory because they don't want the major overhead of losing a lot of money on the back end as far as having a lot of inventory. So that's one of my main things that I figured that a lot of companies are looking to cut down on having less inventory. And, you know, most of the clothes that are discounted, they usually become, you know, in stockpiles and garbage, you know, because now that's a lot of waste that's been out to the e-com as far as in the system goes, pretty much. So, you know, to be more detailed as far as how you proceed with your brand, and having certain things that factions better with the universe and what the world needs because of the global warming. So people are becoming very smarter about the items that they're making and how many items that they're making, and make sure there's no super overhead of stock so it doesn't go into the stockpiles, and they lose a lot of money, but also it's hurting the planet at the same time.
Got it. So, yeah, so what you touched upon, one is definitely that, China being a very important partner here in terms of manufacturing. The the other piece is, instead of manufacturing in huge quantities, which may work for Amazon or the huge players, for smaller companies, you get a sense of what could be the demand, and then be very cautious on how much you manufacture. And I think definitely sustainability is, how much waste you
Right.
put out, and what how you have to keep in mind the environment as well. I mean, that's really interesting. What about other pieces? You mentioned that you are an e-commerce brand, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
online ordering, and it's possibly the returns and refunds, things like this, which even if somebody purchases it, that it's possibility that the fitting might be off, or it's not how they perceived. So I imagine that would be also a great concern when when the online buying happens on stores. So have you faced some
Yeah.
similar issues with your brand, which you think needs to be addressed?
Yes. Yes, I have, you know, because certain clothing fit people differently. Everybody's body is shaped differently. So um, I really figured that when I ran into these problems, either I had to make the sizes a little bit bigger for them to fit correctly. I mean, that's one thing that I don't like to do. I want to make sure that when I put the sizes up, I let people know, you know, through the site, like these are the sizes that we have. So I want to you should make sure that you know exactly what size that you wear, from a medium shirt to a large jogger or whatever the case may be, because it makes their experience more viable to them, because now once they get the product and they put it on, like, oh wow, it fits great, it feels good, right? But now if they have the issues of not putting that size in there, then it becomes a problem for me, right? So now they either want their money back or they will return the clothing and everything. So to cut out that, I just be very direct as far as the size is concerned. If this is what you wear, this is what you order, you know. But also the thing is using AI in the process, right? I'm working with a company in Canada. We're in the talks because that's what they do. They take clothing, you know, and they size it up. And to someone comes online, they put themselves in the clothing, right? And the clothing fits their body, right? So now it shapes into their body. So now the AI picks up, okay, well, this is the size that we think that will fit best because of their body shape and their body frame. So when you're dealing with certain systems, as you know, my company is growing, you know, it takes a little bit of money to have certain things implemented to have this type of system that's going to help you out in the long run, because the world is changing, right? And you having AI do a lot of different things for us, computers, for us, everything that we're doing right now. But to have that shape somebody, to give them the correct size, to let them know this is what I think is best for you, this is the size, or your color tone, or whatever the case may be, it changes the game, right? It changes that a person like myself, a business owner, or people who have multiple companies, that won't have to worry about these back charges coming back, or they're getting these clothing that's being returned, because a lot of these clothing are either going to be discounted or in stores. So to cut that out, AI works a way that's going to help everybody out, save a lot of money, but also change the way emissions are put out within the universe. When it comes to manufacturing clothing.
Yeah, Danny, that's an interesting piece you just said. So, you mentioned Amazon as well, and whatever success they have is primarily because of AI and machine learning, which works
Mhm.
smoothly, beautifully across their search, search on their online store, the product recommendations, the physical store which they have come up with, and everything. So, you know, the interesting piece which you just mentioned is a lot of our customers, when they think about AI, the starting point is always, we want a intelligent search on our online store. It should have some
Mhm.
product recommendations and definitely some predictive insights in terms of dashboard. What you mentioned as a use case, figuring out the fit, what size would fit based on the size and everything. So, how did that come to your mind? I mean, did you do you use AI across your store and other processes, and this was something which you thought would be more relevant for you to start with, because it's a huge investment, right?
It is a
So
very huge
how did
investment.
you
Yeah, it is.
there are multiple business cases which must have gone through your mind as the founder. Where should I put my dollars to get the most out of it? So how did you figure out where it should be? And maybe
Well, my thing is like I haven't implemented that, but it's just in the talks and just figuring out which way that we're going to go, and how the application is going to truly help my company out within the next year or two, because it's going to take some time to build that out, right? And to make sure that the people that I'm working with, I know they're a great company. They have the best aspirations of doing that, and implementing that inside of excuse me, my company, my store. I got that from Nipsey Hussle, who recently passed around about 2 years ago, um, because he had the first smart store that he will bring his customers will come into the store, and they can just pretty much scan everything, and boom, everything will come up, and all of these different pieces of clothing that they can put themselves into. Or so just like, wow, man, that he's like way ahead of the game with that, because he's giving the customer a different experience, because now they can download his music as well too, so he can purchase his music, then also get his clothing, and just pretty much just a smart store. I said, okay, well, you know what, I like that, and I'm planning on implementing my own smart store in the same way by using AI, soon, because it changes the game, right? And when you actually go to a mall, right? Because when you're dealing with India, your country is a very powerful house as far as what y'all guys doing in engineering and technology itself. Second behind China, y'all guys are pretty much running the show in a lot of different ways. And I figured that the United States is catching up. We're in there, but for y'all guys to have these type of things already set in stone, because y'all guys focus so much on technology, um, knowing that these pieces are very important and prominent where the future is going to go at. Now, just think about you going to a mall, right? You're going shopping, right? You know, you see a lot of different clothes out there, people with their businesses showcasing different designers' clothing and everything else. Sooner or later, the mall is just going to be a digital place, right? There's that you can just order stuff, scan it, and pick up your clothing, and you're going to leave. You're not going to have to try on any clothing or anything else. Everything is going to be digitized and everything's going to be formed in AI. So when you're talking about, I would say there's going to be smart malls, you know, smart shopping centers, because everything is going to be transformed into AI. It's going to be so easy. Just think about what Amazon is doing right now with the technology that he has right now. I mean, he has stockpiles and stockpiles of everything, but the future is going to change where shopping and going to the mall is going to be very different. All you're going to have to do is just pull out your phone, scan it, you know, put your stuff in there, or you can order it even before you go to the mall. The only thing you're going to be doing is going and picking it up, or you're going to have it delivered. So the AI is going to change a lot of different things as far as how we're looking as far as major shopping and doing everything else within the next couple of years. I mean, it's already available, but it hasn't been implemented just yet inside these stores. And when these stores start catching up to different things, and they learned during the pandemic, most of these companies during the pandemic, people wasn't going to the malls because everybody was inside. Everybody was shopping online. So now a lot of these business owners got smart and a little savvy and decided to say, well, we need to have a more online presence. So a lot of these companies are still catching up to be on online, to have a better presence, and to have AI be their main guardian as far as how they're moving forward. Because the future is going to definitely make sure that is going to be prominent moving forward.
Yeah, completely agree with you. You're one of those who have just started exploring, and you definitely want to do a lot more around AI. So, where do
Mhm.
you think the apparel industry is going to, you know, or as an apparel business owner, you see huge potential of AI in which function, for example, is it sales, is it marketing, is it the customer experience, or manufacturing? Where do you see it has huge potentials for business to start with? You
Well,
definitely, customer experience is where you started because of the whole returns and refunds piece to ensure that there's a
it,
smooth fitting for your customers.
exactly, right? So what I took a couple of notes, and the top five things for AI in fashion is trend forecasting, right? Creating better fit and more accurate sizing for people, authenticating items to prevent knockoffs, right? Streamlining manufacturing, and also reducing returns. Those pretty much are the main things that companies are really looking to hone in, and and reducing an environmental impact as far as when it comes to the fashion industry. As far as with AI, it it collects, processes, and draw insights from all sorts of data, social media imaging, body functions. As you see, we go to a hospital, you know, X-rays has changed now to where it was before. People taking your blood pressure is changing now. There's a lot of different things that AI is changing over, right? Um, and definitely, um, there's a couple of apps that I was looking at, right? One app is called Bodify, right? And the company is based out of Overland, Kansas. And what this company does is Bodify, right? It changes your whole dynamics of putting yourself in the clothing and sizing you up to making sure you fit correctly inside those clothing before you order it, right? And there's another company called Fit for Everybody, um, and they're out of Princeton, New Jersey, um, and they are pretty much something like Bodify. So they are actually more in tune to getting your height, your tones of your skin tone to match the clothing that you want. And there's another one called Style Riser, which is a German company that has pretty much gone into the AR and VR space to give people a better customer experience as far as when they want to try on clothing. And they can actually get that experience from a 3D and VR to see themselves in that clothing. So, with those top five, those are one of the main things, those out of that list are what a lot of companies are really looking for to hone in because it's going to save a lot of people a lot of money. And when you get returns, just like the holiday season, right? Some people celebrate, some people don't. So when you go shopping and it's like, okay, well, somebody doesn't want this or it's too small or something, just think of the loads and loads of stuff that is returned back. You know, there's a lot of money being lost as far as the merchant's concerned, and there's a lot of time being spent putting these items back on the shelves. And some of these items don't go on the shelves; they go into these discounted stores. So just think about the stockpiles that they have in there. And once those stockpiles are dissipated, and whatever is left in there, I mean, people either they just give them away, donate them, or they're off in the trash pile. So by having these type of systems, as far as in the fashion industry, is going to save retailers, um, the companies a lot of money, but retailers a lot money as well too. So it's going to be a win-win situation when everybody once these things starts honing in, and these companies like, oh wow, we just lost a certain amount of money. So now they're going to start dialing back certain avenues as far as how they proceed with their merchandising moving forward.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I get the sense where those top five which you mentioned would be key for the apparel industry. So along
Mm-hmm.
with these, there are two more use cases which we have seen with our customers. One is uh, the the quality control piece. So we had a customer who used to upload they used to upload tons of images on their online store, and the whole process of checking if the image is blurred, if it's if it's at a good quality, whether there are any objectionable logos or whether there was anything which shouldn't be there on the images. They used to do all of these things manually, and it was a painful affair for them, because there's always room for error. So you know this was one of the use case which we saw, and we actually helped them build an AI system where you upload images and it would identify and give you a scorecard saying out of 1,000, there are 25 images which are either blurred or there are some objectionable logos or trademarks out there, so they could rectify this. So that
Mm-hmm.
that was one piece where we saw a huge pain point for the apparel customers. Maybe it could be for the large ones, maybe not for the small ones, but I definitely imagine the returns piece having a huge impact if implemented the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so for them, I mean, the point which I wanted to make is for them, they realized this whole process is manual. It took a lot of time and it costed them a lot of money. So
Mm-hmm.
for them it was a clear business use case. So how would one decide, or how do you think a business decides? Because I am sure right now if I ask you, you can think of 10 different use cases where you would like to deploy AI for some or the other piece, right? So how do you prioritize? What is there an ROI which you calculate, or is there an immediate pain point? Is there a way or a thumb rule how you prioritize where you should start with, you know to implement those solutions?
I guess adding
Well,
adding one more point to that, like you mentioned, one
mm-hmm.
of the use cases is virtual try-on feature. So currently, if you see in the industry, Amazon has already launched a virtual try-on for shoes. Recently, TikTok also announced a virtual try-on. So as a growing brand, how do like does it excite you to be part of such trends, and how do you plan to be part of such trends? Because when such a huge company launches such kind of a feature, also growing brands want to be part of that trend to leverage that and to grow themselves as well. How do you like prioritize these things? Adding to the question that which Deepak.
Oh, that's a great question. I like that. The thing is just learning and sitting back and just, being a student, right? Because most of these companies been around a long time and they have the resources, they have the money to allocate towards the research and bringing the right team of people to figure these things out, so that they're ahead of the game. Of course, Nike's ahead of the game and everybody's playing catch up with them, but that doesn't mean that any other company can't put this into their company and be successful at doing it, right? Everybody has their own way. You might drive your car a different way than your friend might drive it, or your brother might drives it. He might likes to sit up and drives his car, or someone else might like to lean back in their car a little more, whatever the case may be. It's just the comfortability and where people think that, what is going to be most needed for their company, right? So if a company knows that they're losing money on a lot of returns, right? And they're going to have to figure that out, like why are we getting these returns back? Because why either people are saying that this size that they wear is not the size that they need, and we're losing money on the returns on that, or there's an issue with a certain economy of understanding how their money is going different places. So companies really have to figure out what is causing them the problem, right? Where they're losing the money at, they can get that back. And implementing these systems as far as they're building something that's going to be very prominent for them to recap and reassert themselves into this space, so they don't have to lose a certain amount of money that they're losing on these products. So they won't have these stockpiles, or they won't have this inventory. They won't have to worry about sending it to these places for discounts. Everything is discounted because it's either a stockpile of it or something is wrong with it, right? So just figuring out what system works for them and what problems that they're having that they really need to solve is going to give them the benefit is figuring that out, because everybody has to go back to a drawing board and figure certain things out. Like for me, I know, as my company grows, I will be implementing a certain type of AI as I allocate a lot of more revenue moving forward. But no matter who's first or who's second, long as you have something that's going to help your brand out and stand out amongst everybody else, it's always going to be a benefit, no matter who's first or who's last. But as long as you have something that's going to help you as a company, but also help your customers feel great about purchasing your product, that they are very comfortable, like, okay, they really are looking at the aspects of me and how I want to look inside the clothing, or the shoes that I wear, or the hat that I try on, or the glasses. Because there's a lot of different things that people are getting savvy about, and they implement these certain things to make themselves a better company, but also to not lose revenue on the back end of the spectrum.
Got it, got it. Wherever the business either faces an immediate issue, immediate pain point, or where you see a great potential of maybe, this is a great process, but is there a way I could spend some or save some money on this? Is there a way I could automate it or change the process to save some money? I think that these are the two factors which actually, may trigger, I need something to do about this. So
Mm-hmm.
that, that brings to the next piece, which, was actually coming to my mind. And this is from our experience, if you identify a pain point, let's say you realize that, returns, people are returning a lot of purchases due to whatever, maybe the color or maybe the fitting and all those things. Now you realize I need a solution for that. And when similar use case, what happened at our end, one of our customers wanted to automate the quality control, and they didn't know where to start. They didn't have the in-house capability to figure out the solutions for them, and whatever tech team they had, they were busy with their existing projects, so they didn't know what to do. So us being their partners, their vendors, they reached out to us. So while implementing the AI solution which you spoke about the returns, what were the challenges did you come across, or who do I reach out to, where do I start? Were there any concerns or challenges that you faced while going ahead with this, the AI solution which you wanted to implement?
Well, it's just finding the right fit, right? And making sure that some things that you might need that you really don't need, right? I'm not having a lot of issues, like that. But just to know that I want to have that available, because people change, in their sizes. People gain weight, people lose weight. So everybody's changing, right? So when you have something that's set in stone in place, and you know that you will not go through those problems, it's just by learning, through trial and error. If you make one mistake, you're not going to make that mistake again, right? You're going to figure out what's the problem and you're going to fix it, right? Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it is insanity, correct? Because you think you're going to get a different result from that same action, and you're not. So for me, I don't have those issues like major companies do, right? But when these companies that do have these problems, people have different reasons of their returns, right? Because sometimes, in fashion, women usually just buy a lot of different things and they return it because, like, oh, I wore it and I return it back, and they have a lot of issues with that, right? Um, so it's just figuring out what is causing the problem, or what is making the problem, or how they're going to make it better to solve the issue. And certain things might be out of little control from them. So it's just like, they'll come to y'all guys and ask, like, okay, what's going on? Can we do some data research and find where the trends and, the trend forecasting and everything else? And, just like, certain companies are really worried about their knockoffs, right? Certain brands are really honing in to not lose a lot of money from knockoff companies that are offering a lower price on their brand of style of company, or product, I might say. So, they're they're implementing certain um, um, uh, the aspect of having these AI systems identify these companies who are selling knockoff products. So now AI say, okay, boom, this company right here is selling a knockoff product of Chanel. Excuse me. So now Chanel gets this thing from AI, and that's how big this thing is, right? Because now whatever system they have in place, oh, this company is selling this product, and it's a knockoff of yours, and they're making so much money. So all this data is transferred back to Chanel or whoever the company might be. They're like, okay, wow, now these people have just made a certain amount of money off our company. So now they have the legitimate right to go after this company because they're selling a knockoff product. So a lot of companies are very getting educated because knockoffs can take down a brand, because people thinking, this is a legitimate piece of product, and it's not. And people are just using someone else's brand to make money. And most companies lose a lot of money behind that. So AI is changing the game on a lot of different things like that. So when companies implement certain things like that into play, it helps them win on the back end. So whatever is causing the issue, certain companies have to figure out where can we implement our AI system to help us scale, reduce costs, or find knockoffs that's going to help us, make money, not lose money, and just keep everything moving forward. So there's a lot of different ways that AI can be implemented with different companies, but companies, have to figure out what is their problem and what's the bottom line for them to fix that problem.
Agreed, agreed. So while implementing these solutions, getting, like you rightly said, getting the right partner is the first barrier. Were there any other challenges that, you came across? Or, where do you think typically people get stuck? Like, where do I start? Or, okay, who could help me with this particular piece? Or uh, would it work brilliantly with my internal systems? Or, some people have concerns around data privacy and security. Were any such concerns, which in your mind while, you thought about going ahead with this?
Well, there's a lot of different concerns because, certain people are not honest in this world, right? And they're trying to always get over or try to take your product and do something and claim it as their own, right? So, um, just implementing certain safety protocols within your brand to make sure that when your brand, whatever pieces of clothing you're selling or whatever you're selling is being bought by a customer that is authentic, they get an authentic stamp of approval that this is from the brand itself. So people cannot implement, they can't implement that in a way that's going to be beneficial for them, but it's a safeguard for the company. So it's just really just figuring out what is going to be a benefit. It's just like having a bodyguard, or security guard, or having that bot just recognize like what's wrong here. Let me shut this down, or let me have have AI go through this phase of asking this person or whoever these people are that's coming onto the site or a certain amount of questions before they get to this certain aspect. And and having those loyal customers that already purchased to you with the authentication of approval. So there's just so many different ways that companies can really use it, but they really have to focus on what and the why that they really want to have this type of safeguard system that's going to help them, stop these scavengers, which I call them, from taking your brand's identity and trying to make it their own or just trying to make a buck, because a lot of companies lose a lot of money off knockoffs, and a lot of people are putting different things in place so that is stopped and prevented. So it just really, depends on the companies and of the why and what can they do better to prevent certain things from happening. So it just people have to just do research, and just figure out what company is best for them, what solutions is best for them, and you just have to just go figure it out. And some people just get lazy and they figure like they shouldn't implement or have these certain things, but when it causes something in their bottom line, sometimes it might be a little too late for them to fix that problem because they didn't fix it in the beginning when they started seeing the problem. So it's best to reach out to people like yourselves and your company, your team to like, I'm having this issue. And once they call you, you're gonna ask all of these questions. What's going on? Why is this? What's happening? And to get that detailed information, then your team will figure like, okay, well, we need to implement this, or this is what y'all guys need to do. So by people going through that situation, asking those questions and getting the results done, people will find out exactly what the problem is and how they need to resolve it as far as moving forward. So this really stems on research and what's the problem is to fix it.
Got it, got it. And I completely agree with that term, the scavengers, where they would just try to get the most out of it, whatever they could see. And
Mm-hmm.
what you primarily said, and it's the trust. They should, you know, I mean, they should basically give you that trust that this is a company I could trust. They have done this. These are a few maybe examples or their customers who have benefited from their services. So you know that is where I see this going. So if somebody has to do this research and shortlist the right partner for them, what would you recommend? What are the pieces or what are the aspects they should consider while evaluating somebody?
Wow, the evaluation that is, it depends on what market they're in, right? Um, are we just talking about fashion? Are we just talking about the fashion industry, or are we just talking about in general?
I think this is a very general question, because no matter the industry,
Mm-hmm.
your business, or
Mm-hmm.
even if you are not a business owner, even if you are, like say a manager, you still have a lot of stake. You choose the wrong partner, and your project won't be, delivered the way you want it, right? So
Right.
it's applicable for anybody who cares about what they do and doesn't want to lose face in in front of their customers or their bosses. So
Mm-hmm.
if somebody has to evaluate a tech partner, not just an AI partner for that matter, what would you recommend them? What are the things they should look for?
Um, Definitely for me, like me being a chef, right? Um, I never refer people to like jobs, right? Because I am a very detailed person and I work my ass off, right? So if I refer someone or bring someone to the job or whatever the case may be that I was working, they have to be like me. They have to have that same type of dedication, motivation, and hunger that I bring to the table, right? And people should look for the same people that mirrors them, that have that hunger, that have that dedication, who want to build something from the ground up, to see it just transcend from the beginning stages to now, like, wow, look what we've built. So by having recruiting people or bringing people on board, you want to definitely make sure that they have that same type of mentality, right? You just don't want to bring anybody on board. You're just not going to bring someone in off the streets into your house and give them a meal, right? And that's the way you look at it. People have to have the same type of aspirations and goals to be a perfect fit. So if they're coming to um, a certain company, and they want to get certain things done, they have to have a certain aspiration. They have to have a certain need or certain want or certain things that they want to see done. So when you bring that together, um, that person is pretty much unstoppable. But having another person that matches that energy and have another person that matches their energy, it's a beautiful thing when you have the same type of people. That's why the saying goes, if you hang around a millionaire, you'll become a millionaire, right? If you live by the gun, you die by the gun. So it depends on your lifestyle, and your dedication to your craft. If you want to be an outlaw, you're gonna hang out with outlaws, right? If you want to become a billionaire, you're gonna hang out with billionaires. You're gonna ask questions. You're gonna talk to people. You're gonna network. But having the same people in your space and having the same type of mentality that you have, it makes things a lot better, and it helps you grow as a person. And you can't be the smartest person. You got to have smarter people around you, because you're not going to know everything. So bringing the right people on board is going to help you grow, going to help the company grow. It's going to be more exciting because you have like-minded people and y'all going to share the same common interest, to accomplishing that goal. So that's what I figured that a lot of companies and need to do, bringing the right type of people on. You can't vet everybody that who wants to be in that same space, but when you do recognize those people, you have to give them the credit that they deserve. But it really depends on the mindset of the the owner of the company, what type of mentality that he's bringing into the culture of the company and everything else to make people excited about working with you. So a lot of people have different type of goals and interests.
Agreed. So, what you're saying is, you know, the vision of the company should be something, where there is a intersection. The other company, if you're looking for a partner, if you're evaluating somebody as a vendor, the vision is something which is one thing, somebody should look for. You also mentioned that they should be smarter. So the way I would look at it is, if I want something getting done for my team or for my company, I would preferably go to an expert who knows more than me, who knows how to deliver those things for
Of
me.
course, right, exactly, right, because just like me being a designer, right, I can design so much, right, but if I need to outsource some stuff or work with someone else, like I do have another designer that I work with. I've been working with him for the past like 3 years. So I can start the whole process of a design and put all of my time into it, but then if I don't have that time, I say, okay, this is what you need to finish up, or you need to take care of this aspect, right? Because now I know I can trust him. I've been working him for so long, and I know he's on board with everything that I'm doing as far as with the company. And as we grow, he'll probably be my graphic creative director or whatever the case may be. But because I know of his dedication and his skill set, I know what he brings to the table. And those are the type of people that I want to constantly bring on board. Uh, People like myself and my graphic designer, and even like my girlfriend who's become my creative director as far as, once we do the fashion shows, just her mindset, right? And everybody else that, I bring people along who wants to be in the space, right? If I figure that you don't want to be in the space and you're not dedicated, and I did that before, right? Because I wanted everybody to be a part of what I was building, but everybody wasn't there, on a mental aspect, right? Everybody had other things that they wanted to do or decided to do. Now, you understand that, right? I just want to bring everybody on board, but now it's like, okay, cool. You're not ready for this. This is not your lifestyle. This is not your goals. This is mine. And once I figured all of that stuff out, I decided to say, okay, I can just do this by myself and just hire, certain people that I want to bring on board and outsource things that when I need to. So it's just by being rational on major life goals and decisions that you want to always surround yourself with the best people. And like I said, having smarter people and always reaching out to people that you can call to, if you have a question, to ask them, what do you recommend, or which way do you think I should go? It's always great to have mentors to give you those type of answers.
Like talking about decisions and like choosing the right people for the right problem and a solution. Like mentioned a very specific use case that you are facing a return rate issue because of the sizing problem. And that's when you identified that you can implement AI and solve this problem. And
Yes.
how did you figured out that AI is the solution for this problem? And what are the potential partners that I can partner with to solve this issue? What was your entire thought process? Who assisted you to make those decisions? And like what challenges you faced during that process?
Well, for me, it's just about, learning, because I had a customer that purchased something and they didn't receive it like within a month or so. And I'm like, you didn't receive your order? So um it just made me understand, like, I never want that to happen, because like I said, if I make a mistake once, I never make that mistake again. I learn immediately. I fix that problem. I analyze it. You know, I'm the type of person that analyze certain things. You know, being a Leo, that's one of our things. You know, um, I'm very analytical on certain things. I process things. You know, and I get over those things. I analyze it in that moment. I figure it out. Then I move forward on how to not make that situation happen again. And for me telling myself, I'm like, okay, this is direction that I'm going forward to, right? Because it's going to help benefit me and save me a headache and not dealing with these issues, but also give that customer experience to my clients and my customers who come on board with me, who are purchasing from me. I want them to have that great experience, right? Just like if we go out to a restaurant, right? First, when you walk in the door, you're going to be greeted by a host. They're going to welcome you to the restaurant, right? Then they're going to seat you to the table, how many guests you're having tonight, 3, 4, whatever the case may be. They're going to sit you down at the table, right? From there, they're going to give you the menus. And once you get the menus, you're going to look at what you want to eat. Your server is going to come up next and greet you and like, do you want water? What do you want to drink? Do you want to order your appetizers, right? And it's just going through that same type of process. You know, I look at everything between culinary and fashion, right? And I look at the whole stages of everything. So when I look at the stages, I'm like, man, this will be a great benefit for us to have within the company, you know, as we're growing. So I always reach out to a lot of people early, and people are like, wow, you know, you're talking to me like at this very early stage. I'm like, yes, because I want to know. I like to do my research. So now when it's time to implement these things, I already have those people available to take care of the problems that I need to get solved, right? So, and it's just all about, you know, just researching and just dedicating yourself to the craft. And once you have those problems, you never let those problems occur again. And you just make sure that you understand what happened to fix it immediately, that you would never go through that problem again. But also having people in place to take care of these things for you. Once you really need to implement those things, because usually putting systems, AI system in place like that, it takes the time, but it also takes the data, it takes all of the research that comes along with that. So it's just far as figuring out what you need to get done and what is going to be a great fit for your company. Then you add those features into it. Just like every computer that we have has a different feature than the next one. It has certain attributes than the next computer does. The functionality is different. So depending on which phases of these steps that you want to implicate and have within your company, that's the things that you should to have structured within your system as far as how AI is going to run, help you benefit in the long run. I hope to answer your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think one piece which I asked first, so you made this decision alone, or you had your creative director, or maybe your operations manager, or your tech person, having, suggesting you something, or, maybe this is something we should explore. So how did that happen?
Well, it's just all about just finding the right people, man. You know, just like, but being a basketball player, right? You know, you want to be the best on the court, right? And you want to be one of the best on the court, right? But you also got a team that's going to help you win. You never see not one player, not one cricket player can win a cricket game by themselves, right? He just can't do it by himself, right? So it takes a team, it takes a coach to give you those type of tools. That's a mentor, right? A coach is a mentor as well, you know. So now it's like, okay, well, we need to do this. You need to hit this ball here, or you need to come in low, you need to come in high, and whatever the case may be, there's a strategy, right? And that's how I look at everything. You know, being a chef, you're working with so many different people in the kitchen, right? And you know when you're starting your shift, right? You know who you're going to be working with. So you know who's going to be on their game, who's going to, be that teammate that you need. Because when shit hits the fan, it's like, oh, we're super busy, right? You know that you're going to have fun in the process, right? Any sport, you're down like 2 points. You know who's going to be the guys that's going to come in to rally the team, right? And you want to find those people that you know that you can build that team with, that's going to say, okay, now I know that I got um Sarah here, I got John here, I got Rasul here, I got everybody in place that I know that if anything occurs, that everybody's going to take care of it, right? And you have to implement that by the structure of finding the right fit of the right people. Like I said, it's all about the mentality and the people that are hungry, that want to succeed and want to take the brand to the next level. So it's just all about, having the right structure, the mind frame, and setting the tone for your company so people can be excited about being a part of growing with you as well. So it's a team sport. There's no I in team.
Got it. So it was a team decision, is what you're saying, that this is something which needs to be fixed. That's, this seems like a, possible option and, most likely option for us. Let's go ahead with that.
Oh yeah, because being a founder and CEO, you wear all of the hats, right? Before you bring anybody on, right? And you learning all of the things. You're going through the marketing, you're going through every business aspect. You're just dealing with all of these things that maybe 10 to 15 people will do within a company. But starting off, you have to learn these things and you have to figure these things out. So, that's why I'm always making these phone calls. I'm always reaching out to people. Well, I'm looking into this right here. How is this going to be beneficial for me and my company moving forward? What are your guys? What do you see that we're going to be great working together? And to have these type of people set already in place, and their main thing is to make me successful, to help my company grow. When you're dealing with people that say, okay, well, we can help you do this or we can help you do that, and you're showing me what we can do or what needs to be done, those are great things that you have to really consider, as far as like, okay, they're here to help me take my brand to the next level, and they're offering me these type of services, and this is going to benefit me, because certain things that certain companies think they need, they don't need, right? um so you really have to figure out which things or which people is going to benefit your company the most. And that's what I'm constantly learning every day, every day, every day, because people can offer you so many things, but not need those things as far as within your company, and I'm not the type of person to just, spend money on a lot of different things that I don't need. So the things that I really truly need, I reach out to the companies that's going to help me. But also, as far as me making the decisions, because everything falls on my shoulders, and I'm always looking to have the best services, and having a great team of people around me to help me scale my brand. So it's just a lot of different detail that goes into it. It's like any play or any show that you watch. There's a lot of detail that goes into the process. A director can't direct without actors, right? He can't direct without a staff of people, sound boom guy. Everybody plays a part of making a movie, right? And a movie is not a movie if you don't have those people in places. You don't have the set, you don't have the actors, you don't have the directors, you don't have no, it's just like I never seen a movie made without nobody. Maybe, sooner or later, AI has been so big. Have you guys watched Avatar, the new Avatar lately?
No, I might watch it over this weekend.
Oh man, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I just look at certain people of that magnitude, James Cameron, and his mind and the way he thinks. and the way he took that movie and the way he's done so many things, and just looking at how he used AI and everything as far as like with the AR and VR in the movie, it's just phenomenal. And it just made me like, wow, man, the future is super, super bright. What you think Facebook is doing with the metaverse right now? That is another major aspect of where the future is going, because a lot of people are living in the metaverse now, you know. So there's a lot of different things, but having a great team and figuring out what's the problem, and implementing those and making sure you have the right um, um, plan as far as how you're gonna use certain tools for your company. So just doing a lot of research and just figuring that out.
Agreed, agreed. So we are looking for, so there is this expert in, in the apparel space who deals specifically with the metaverse. So, building all those clothes for the metaverse characters. We are hoping to get her on our, podcast soon. Let's hope that that happens in Jan. So, we'll definitely share an episode with you.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah. So so what you just said is, that AI is the future, and all, those technologies are going to work together, to figure out whatever solution or whatever problem needs to be solved. How are
Exactly.
you preparing to, drive adoption within your company, or, how do you plan to do it, maybe, for the next 2 3 years? How do you plan to prepare yourself for this, or
Just, just,
how do you think people, businesses should be looking forward to this?
just finding what's going to make their company successful by implementing AI, right? And how it's going to benefit them moving forward. For me, it's all about fitting and pretty much showing people what they look like in the clothing, right? Whatever shoes I've designed over like 250 pairs of shoes, right? So just giving people a different experience, by trying on the shoes, just having that whole amplified to a whole different manner. But it's just finding the right company that I think is going to be a great fit to help me do that. So just taking small steps, and just, noting certain problems like, will this benefit me if I implement this? Or this happens, will this benefit me if I implement this? And like I said, using AI, it's very strategic, it's very beneficial, but it's very costly. So if I figure that I really need to move in that manner, I would have to, start moving forward with that. Because within the next, I would say 3 to 5 years, it's going to be very prominent that AI is going to be pretty much everywhere. Like I said, as far as like smart stores and everything, it's going to be very beneficial to a lot of people. So you want to be a part of the process, but you don't want to go broke by trying to get things done. Just like I said, you really have to be uh, keen to your decision as far as using AI as far as implementing in your company. Because some companies probably don't need it, and they think that they do, but you really have to just dial in and just figure what's going to be beneficial. But for me, I know we'll be working with AI sometime soon, and I'm just looking forward to what it's going to bring and how it's going to help us grow as a brand moving forward.
Agreed, agreed. So I believe what you just said, that, you need the right partner to help you out with this, because not everything can be built in-house. And while, you can stay updated with all the trends and all the possible applications, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you still need somebody who can, like an expert, like you said, who can guide you through, this is what is needed. You don't need this right now. You should
Exactly.
focus on this, get this done. This is a smaller piece. If it works, we can, always expand to a much larger
Exactly.
piece.
Exactly. Right. See, for me, it'd be like, maybe like trend forecasting, that's big, streamlining manufacturing, that works in a lot of different ways as well. Reducing returns, I'm pretty good on the returns, but just knowing that that is be implemented, to not worry about the returning because people will have the right sizes and it'll be like, okay, you order this and you size yourself up so now, there wouldn't be no issues. But, having uh, a machine as smart as AI, because AI is just going to get smarter and smarter, right? And as much as it's just like feeding a baby, right? Just feeding a child. The more you feed it, the bigger it gets, right? Or the hungrier it gets, right? It's like, oh wow, you just gave me this food right here. I want more of it. So now you constantly, feed that baby. That baby's gonna love you and everything else. And AI is gonna say, oh wow, you know what? You're making me smarter. Wow, just give me more. And you're gonna constantly feed it, and it's gonna get smarter and smarter. It's probably going to start talking back to you, you know? And when it starts talking back to you, you're going like, oh, snap, like, what do we got here? Now you're going to take over everything. And people are really worried about like, it's going to take over the planet. And,
It's
certain things like
Terminator.
that. Yeah, yeah, right. When you look at certain things like that, you're like, oh man, should we be putting all of our eggs in a basket with these things because robots are something totally different and when it comes to manufacturing AI is taking over a lot of manufacturing jobs, right? And there's certain things as far as implicating how AI is going to be um subjected into our lives as it has, but not as it will be within the next couple of years. I would say 5 years tops that it's going to be at its full potential. Because, just like you got Siri and all these other things that you talk to, and, that's a whole different aspect of AI. Amazon got its own type of series of AI, and the benefit just knowing that you can tell, hey Siri, cut on my lights. Okay, I'm gonna cut on your lights, right? But now, as it gets smarter, it's gonna start doing a lot more things that you didn't ask it to do. You know, then you can be like, okay, well, I need to turn this damn thing off. You're like, oh, now you can't turn me off. Oh, now I got a monster in my house.
You're no longer the master.
Like, what I'm gonna do now? I got a monster in my house. It's like I can't get rid of you. It's like now the AI is stuck in your car wherever you go. So people are really like hesitant on like how far they want to take AI at and how implement as far as their business or their homes or their cars and stuff like that. So people are looking at a lot of different things that they want to move forward. But I think people just should just go with the flow and whatever they figure that they need it in their business, in their home, or wherever the case may be, they should use it. But also know that these systems are getting smarter. The more you put into it, the more it's going to give back to you. But you just have to be ready for that, because sometimes it becomes a little scary for people.
I think we pretty much covered everything that we wanted to discuss with you. I mean, you know, it has been a great session where we could understand, and the great part was you already had started this journey on adopting it because we have seen a lot of companies struggling with it. So you know, it was great having those insights with you, Danny. If you,
Well, I greatly
anything from you?
appreciate that. Yeah, my thing is I like to stay ready so I don't have to get ready, right? So it's just like having tools available. And I know I have them on me. But when I need them, I have them. So just by having great like-minded people that I can reach out to, I'm like, okay, now I did my research, I did my due diligence on my process. and I think this would be a great fit for the company. Now I want to move forward, right? Because I've done my research and I figured out, okay, this is a great avenue for us to go this way. That's going to benefit us in the long run. And once, like I said, when companies and CEOs or founders come to that conclusion of what is going to be a benefit, I recommend people just don't spend money just because to spend money. Find what you really need to implement that piece of artificial intelligence for your company to help you grow. Otherwise, just don't panic. Just sit back, do your due diligence, stay persistent on your goals, and never give up on what the future holds, because it's a very bright future for everybody, especially in this space right now. Just like even the bots right now. When I look at the bots, that is something that I'm looking at towards too, because I use a company called Mobile Monkey, right? And when you are talking to somebody, or the first thing that comes up as far as like, oh, using the chat, the bot comes up, right? That's a whole different form of AI itself, right? Because now all you have to do is just set it up, whatever you need to do, put in the information. So when people come onto the site, now that bot is taking control, and people ask those questions. The information goes in. It's repetitive, and it saves you time. So there's a lot of different ways that from SMS messaging. Bots has a lot to do with that. AI has a lot to do with that. So it's just the way you implicate what you really need and how it's going to benefit you in the long run.
I guess
Yeah.
that is the perfect concluding remark that we can have for this fantastic session.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
Agree.
Thank
No
you so
worries,
much
guys.
for joining us, Danny.